What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Tokimotive. Alright, so we're finally doing some wagon shit again. The V8 stuff is done. So I've been wanting to do this for fucking ages, but I've been lacking the motivation to do it. I'm gonna chuck the Powertune into the wagon. Mate Jesse and I, we've been brainstorming how we're gonna actually mount it up. We've got a spare cluster here. The idea, because I'm gonna use none of this, but I kind of want to keep the fuel gauge so I don't have to wire it up through the ECU. So we're gonna have a go and see if the circuit board will actually still work for the fuel gauge with nothing else in it. And kind of recess the Powertune down into the factory cluster using the factory base and everything like that, and try to make it fit like factory. I'm going to try and put my oil pressure gauge that I've got actually into it, because I'm not going to spend the money on one of the Haltech sensors because they're like $300–400 for the sensor itself, and I really can't be bothered doing that. We should be able to house everything in the factory cluster. Theoretically. Probably start pulling into it and start measuring stuff and seeing what we can actually make up, and then, yeah.
See how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge.
That's way better.
How's that lighting looking?
Dude. Oh yeah.
The things we do for you guys.
Right?
It's the little things that count.
The one for the fans.
That's exactly it.
Give us letters. That's the top right corner. So I was right. I reckon.
I think so. We'll pull the cluster out of the wagon so we've got one with a complete base. We can compare and we'll work out exactly what's going to be the best way to do it. That's raising.
It's raising. You have power?
Look.
It's raising. You can just see it.
So that'll kind of be sitting on a bit. They're going to need to come off. That's alright, we can do that.
Mind your eyeballs.
One.
Send it.
We can center it. We'll have enough room for this with that centered.
That, my friend,
is going to look beautiful. Alright guys, so this is kind of what I've come up with at this point. That there, this here, that there, and then I'm going to have a go at using a hairdryer to kind of heat up the glue and pop this front plastic off of this. This fits inside it. So I should just be able to trim that inner one there, and probably a little on the other side as well to get it nice and center. And that should just fit over it. Just depends on how neat I can make it doing that. And I've worked out we'll be able to do it properly, because I'm probably going to have to trim this to actually fit the gauge. So I'll have to trim this out. So I went through and I cut the circuit board. I've already put it in the car with the fuel gauge attached, and it still works. Everything else on it still works. I just trim that bit off, and then I can cut that out and have the wires for my oil pressure gauge and stuff hang out and attach as they need to. I'm probably gonna drill out that little hole a bit more, chuck a bolt through there to make that backing plate stable again, and then that should be all that sorted. And it's just a matter of actually making up our face for it, which will sit there. I'll sit over it, everything will be in there. It should be nice, neat. We'll be able to get there and use the touch function on the screen and everything like that. Should be pretty good. Well, that didn't exactly go as planned, but it probably would have worked if I wasn't so impatient and start working on getting this face piece done. That's going to actually house the Powertune. I'll pull you off time lapse if I do need to do anything, and yeah, we'll get into it. So with this face plate here, I think we're gonna have clearance issues with these. I'm gonna put that on the bench grinder and get rid of those little tabs. And we'll see if it'll hold down this. That's gonna be it. Now something I wish it came with when I got it was an outline diagram here of the case and where the bolt holes are, but I guess they kind of want you to buy their mount bracket, which is entirely fair, that's fair enough. I didn't get it with mine, so I'm going to use the verniers and some basic measuring stuff, and I'm going to make a template that I can use and transfer onto our template for in the actual cluster itself. So I've got a line. By popping the knife through, I now have a line center point on the back side of it. So that is at 190 mil. That's our center. Get this sitting roughly where it needs to be. That's our center point. What we got that way. Yep, no. No, that way. We've got 195 mil from that point to that point. Okay, half a 90 is 45. Half of that 5, so we're... math. 97 and a half. We got there eventually. About there. And that should be... What? Oh, so I didn't count the 5. Works. That's what's gonna work. Did we work out this plugged in? I hope I have not just made a mistake. Fuck! I've made a mistake. That's meant to go in the other way. Now I'm gonna trace it onto another piece of card and try again. Now that we've got our plate sorted. Well, alright, so now that we've got the where the Powertune's mounting sorted on this template, we're going to. Oh god, that's apparently upside down for some reason. We're going to work out where this is going to sit in the center there. What I'm going to do for that is I'm going to draw a line for my dash here. We're going to pop our face back on because I don't want it centered from the outside of the case. I want it centered from where it'll sit behind this face. Yeah, we'll make it 80 mil for the ease of math. Measure, we'll get 40 on our ruler. And I'll mark 40. It's an up and down line right there. Which is about 96 mil. Half a 90 is 45, and half a 1. No, 6, so 90, 45, plus 3. 48 mil. We got 48 mil in from the, say, the top there. And then I just cross them over. If you can see it, that'll be the center point of this gauge. We just measure this gauge, which is 50 mil. Basically, all we'll end up doing, finding that center point. The dash template. Now just gotta make that out, transfer that onto the metal, make that, trim the back out of this, and try and fit everything all in and work out just how much we've got to trim off of this to make it all work properly. I'll probably bang us on a little short time lapse. So the way that I've done it to try and sandwich it in has worked absolutely awesome. That's got no left to right, up or down movement, and none in and out. It's sandwiched really nicely by the back, the front face. So now it's a matter of trimming this up, cut out the one for the auto meter gauge, make sure everything fits up, kind of half bolt it together, and work out how much of this casing we've actually got to trim out. So I'll chuck these back on time lapse. Next time I'll just file that inner lip to get it to clear, because it looks like I needed to take very little out of that top and I took a lot more than I needed to. I'll cut that out, cut the hole in the back of that to suit, and I'll paint up this bracket. I'm just going to paint it black. And it's currently 7:30 at night, meeting mates for a car meet at 6 AM. So this has to be done in and working by then. I might need a coffee for this. Phew! What the fuck? I put the pen! Oh, I've worked out that this workbench is too small. So the GPS module comes in this little static protective bag. So avoid touching the chip at all, because your finger oils are not good for them. And I've got my shoe off and I've got my foot directly on the concrete. It's not perfect, it's not exactly what you're meant to do. You're meant to have a little wrist grounding strap, but it's surely got to help with something. Now this will only go one way under the little holder that you get with it. You got your chip there and you got the little antenna bit there, and they will line up with the little cutout that's on there. So slot your chip up in your little holder and you'll feel it kind of settle into the hole. Your wiring stuff is numbered here. You'll see it imprinted into the 3D printing. And your chip output bit just here, it's got a little 1 on the far left pin. All you have to do is line these up where they are there to the correct pin. Hold the phone. I dropped this. My bad. Let me fix that. Oh gosh. I dropped yours again. 3's the red, 4's the blue. So your blue is your can low and your red's your can high on the plug they give you. You got a H and an L for the can. It's in there nice and firm. Now, something I'm gonna do, I still gotta work out exactly what length I wanna use, but I got some USB extensions. So I'm gonna plug 1 or 2 into the side of it and run them out the back of the dash and have them hang down in the dash somewhere that I can hook up to and connect up a mouse in case for whenever I want to do a lot of work on the dash and don't want to just use the touchscreen. And then it also comes with a little power cable that's got 2 wires on it, which go to a positive and a negative. If I had Delphi pins here, I would crimp a couple of them on and I'd just punch them in there. Your Haltech ECU will feed full voltage and full amps and everything that you need to run the dash itself, and earth it out through a fuse source on the ECU, which is probably the best way to do it. And then it's one plug, but I don't have the pins for it. I'll probably just wire the power directly to the wiring at the back of the dash, because that'll still be a fuse circuit. Finalised putting this dash together. Now I've found using a circuit tester, I've just got the little alligator clip to an earth, and I've got that. And now I've already found that this is an ignition power. So we go on, that's accessories, that's on. If I try to start it, it doesn't turn off. You don't want a wire that turns off when you're cranking, because that'll cycle the power on the dash. And you don't want to unnecessarily cycle it, because the data runs off an SD card. And unnecessary cycling over a long period of time can corrupt the data. Just click the on. See, that's a very effective earth. And being that it's part of the dash wiring, it'll be on a fuse circuit somewhere. The thing I recommend getting is a set of strippers like this, because they will open up a gap in the wire, which is perfect for what we've got here, where we're actually splicing it. If I open up a little hole in the wire using a small flathead screwdriver, and then carefully poke it through your hole, that'll get a nice solid connection for whichever method you decide to do for connecting it, either a little crimp or you solder it. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to tape this wiring to the harness so that it can't move around and pull on those wires. I crimped them off, gave them a bit of a tug test. Now I've plugged the power into the dash. Let's see if she powers on. Hey! There we go. Anyways, while I'm putting it back together, I'll chuck his on a time lapse, throwing it back together, and I'll hook up the GPS thing, attach it to that, so I don't have to attach it to it, try to attach it to it in the car, because that's going to be a pain in the ass. I'll have it hanging out the back of the cluster, and then I'll kind of tuck it through and feed it up to where I want it. All complete, looking pretty good. Everything's all nice and sturdy. I actually love how it's turned out. But what I've done is I've hooked it up so all the wiring can come out of here, and everything but the GPS itself can be completely disconnected easily. I've got a couple extra USBs hanging out of there on extensions. That's so I can hook up a mouse or something like that if I'm doing a lot of adjusting on the dash to make it real pretty. All the wiring for the oil pressure gauge will go there, which I hole sawed out. We've got our cam plug hanging out the back there. We've got our power one, which I ended up putting a couple of spade connectors on the harness inside the car. Fuel gauge will work, just running off the factory stuff, and I've got a couple of lights over there to light it up as it should be. and I got the GPS cable hanging out there. I'm really happy with this. I'm super excited. Let's actually go put it in. And we're working. Fuel gauge is working, oil pressure's working, all the dash is working. I have a severe voltage issue that I have to work out, like immediately, because it is playing havoc with my fuels. It's going stupid rich and then it's going stupid lean. So I'm gonna have to try and fix that before the meet tomorrow as well. Alrighty guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. At some point I'll do a video on setting the dash up properly and customizing it and all that sort of stuff, because there's no way I can cram it into this video as well without blowing out massively. But if you've made it through to the end and you enjoyed the video, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It goes a long way towards supporting and helping the channel. I'll link to different things like the dash and that in the description below, and link to my other socials including BUILDZ.PRO and Instagram and stuff like that. And you can check out this thing and other stuff I've got going on, pictures, old grip footage, all that sort of stuff on both platforms, so they'll be linked below. But anyways, I'm not going to keep you for much longer. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you on the next one, guys.